The archaeological excavations in Atapuerca are one of the most significant finds in the study of human evolution not only in Europe but also in the world. This cave complex, located in the province of Burgos in northern Spain, has given scientists a unique opportunity to trace the chain of human development over almost a million years. Geography and the discovery of Atapuerca. The path to a great archaeological discovery in the northeast of Spain, just 15 kilometers from the city of Burgos, there is a seemingly unremarkable place, the hilly Atapuerca Ridge. Visually, it differs little from the surrounding landscape. Green slopes, rare trees, limestone outcrops, among which there are natural craters and caves. But it is here that nature, like an archivist, has carefully preserved the history of human development, carried through millions of years. The geological structure of Atapuerca was formed more than 5 million years ago. As a result of tectonic movements and water erosion, extensive cave systems have formed here, including deep karst voids. These underground spaces eventually became shelters for animals and then for the earliest human ancestors. Initially, Atapuerca was not considered as an archaeological site. The first traces of the past were found in the 19th century when a tunnel was built through the hill as part of the construction of the railway between Burgos and Bilbao. The workers, blasting limestone, noticed strange fossils and bones but did not attach much importance to it. At that time, archaeology was just emerging as a science, and these finds were not given a proper assessment. The turning point came only in 1976, when a group of speleologists, exploring the abandoned sections of the tunnel, came across unusual human remains in one of the cave's Cima de los Huesos, pit of bones. This discovery had the effect of an exploding bomb. It turned out that dozens of ancient skeletons, presumably hundreds of thousands of years old, were preserved in the karst well. From that moment, systematic research began, led by Spanish paleoanthropologists José Luis Aracega, Eudald Carbonell and Juan Luis Arzuaga. They turned Atapuerca into one of the largest paleoanthropological sites in Europe. Over the next decades, thousands of artifacts, animal and human remains were found here, reflecting almost a million years of human history. Why was Atapuerca so unique? Firstly, due to the geological stability and isolation of the caves, they are protected from external factors such as erosion, precipitation and climatic changes. Secondly, the region is located on an ancient migration route connecting Europe, Asia and Africa, a kind of crossroads of continents. Primitive people, moving from south to north, stayed here, using caves as a temporary or permanent shelter. Today, the archaeological complex of Atapuerca includes several key sites. Cima del Elefante is the oldest of the caves, where traces of human habitation dating back more than 1.2 million years have been found. Gran Valley is the site of the discovery of the species Homo antecessor, one of the possible ancestors of modern Europeans. Cima de los Huesos is the world's oldest mass grave containing the remains of Homo heidelbergensis. Each of these caves is unique in its own way, and together they form a continuous archaeological record covering almost the entire Pleistocene. Since the 2000s, excavations have been carried out using the most modern methods: laser scanning, radiometric dating, DNA analysis. All the findings are carefully documented and studied at the CENIA Human Evolution Research Center in Burgos. Thus, Atapuerca has become not just an archaeological site, but a center of global scientific significance, where the past comes to life and provides answers to the most important questions. Where did we come from? How did we develop? And what does it mean to be human? Among the caves of the archaeological complex of Atapuerca, Cima del Elefante, the Elephant Hollow, stands out. This is not just one of the excavation sites, but in fact a gateway to a time when Europe was just beginning to be mastered by man. It was here in 2007 that archaeologists discovered a fragment of a lower jaw dating back to about 1.2 million years ago. These are the oldest human remains in Western Europe, a unique find that has radically changed our understanding of the settlement of the continent. The cave is an entrance karst corridor deeply embedded in the slope. The stratigraphy, sequence of layers, is exceptionally well preserved here. Each layer preserves evidence of the epoch, and tools, fragments of fauna, and most importantly, a human bone were found in the deep sediments. This jaw fragment belonged to an ancient representative of the genus Homo, possibly one of the early Homo erectus, or a transitional form between it and Homo antecessor. The cave itself is named Elephant Cave because of the large number of remains of prehistoric elephants, Paleoloxodon antiquus, found here. These animals, along with rhinos, hippos and other thermophilic fauna, indicate that the climate in Atapuerca a million years ago was much milder, something between the subtropics and the savanna. This biological abundance made the region attractive for large mammals and, consequently, for primitive hunters. Along with the human bones, the archaeologists found crudely crafted stone tools, mostly made of flint. They were simple but effective tools. Choppers, scrapers, flakes. They were used for butchering carcasses, processing wood, hides, and bones. Animal bones with traces of cuts lay next to the tools, direct evidence that humans actively hunted and butchered prey. It is important to note that the finds in Cima del Elephant are not isolated. They are part of a broader picture of European settlement. Before these discoveries, it was believed that man appeared in Europe only about 500–600,000 years ago. However, the jaw from this cave proves that migrations from Africa began much earlier and were probably repeated, undulating, adapted to climate change. What do we know about the first inhabitants of Atapuerca? They lived in small groups, moved across open plains, and used natural shelters like this cave to protect themselves from predators and the weather. Their lives were short and full of dangers, but they already possessed basic skills. They made tools, hunted, butchered prey, and perhaps had the beginnings of communication. Cima del Elefante has become an important chronological anchor in the history of Europe. Thanks to precise paleomagnetic and biochemical analysis of the layers, the scientists were able to record the age of the finds with high accuracy. These studies formed the basis of a new theory of early Europe, according to which humanity penetrated into the European continent long before the appearance of classical Neanderthals or Homo sapiens. Today, excavations in the cave are continuing. Every inch is examined with jewel-like precision. Any bone, any fragment of flint can become a new argument in reconstructing the life of our ancestors. The Grand Valley Cave is one of the central locations of the Atapuerca Archaeological Complex. Its name translates as Big Valley, and it fully justifies its name. A huge karst grotto with a multi-level stratigraphy, which records tens of thousands of years of the history of human presence. But it was in the TD6 layers, dating from about 850–800,000 years ago, that a discovery was made that shocked the scientific world. The remains of a completely new human species, Homo antecessor. This species was discovered in 1994 by a team of Spanish archaeologists led by Juan Luis Arzuaga and immediately caused intense controversy. The discovered fragments, skulls, teeth, jaws, as well as long limb bones, belonged to both adults and children. The peculiarity of Homo antecessor was a unique combination of primitive and progressive features. The skull had a developed facial region, with a prominent nose and pronounced chin features, more characteristic of modern Homo sapiens than of Neanderthals. Based on morphology, scientists hypothesized that Homo antecessor could be a common ancestor of both Neanderthals and modern humans. He was tall, up to 1.75 meters, had a well-developed physique, well adapted to cross-country movement. However, it wasn't just the anatomy that made the find outstanding. The real shock was caused by the traces of cannibalism found on the bones. There are clear cuts made by stone tools on the ribs, bones of the arms and legs. These traces indicate that the meat was removed from the bones intentionally, just like from animal bones. Moreover, such marks were found mainly on the bones of children and adolescents, which may indicate either ritual actions or extreme necessity, for example, during periods of famine. This fact puts Homo antecessor on a par with other ancient cultures where cannibalism could have a social or ritual significance. Scientists did not agree on whether it was an organized ritual, a form of military practice, the destruction of rivals, or just a struggle for survival. However, regardless of the reasons, this is the first recorded evidence of cannibalism in European history. In addition to human bones, numerous stone tools were found in the Grand Valley, made with a high degree of thoughtfulness. They include choppers, scrapers, and knives, including those that are bilaterally processed, which indicates the development of material processing skills. There are also traces of bonfires, remnants of ashes and charred bones, which suggests that fire control is a key stage in evolution. The lifestyle of Homo antecessor was most likely semi-sedentary. Groups moved within the same ecosystem, returning to caves convenient for life. Grand Valley, apparently, served as a periodic camp. Food was extracted here, tools were processed, overnight stays were arranged, and remains were probably stored. Today, Homo antecessor remains a mystery. Its origin is not completely clear. It may be a descendant of early Homo erectus that migrated from Africa, or the result of local evolution. But one thing is for sure: it was an intelligent, organized and, perhaps, socially complex species that took a significant step towards modernity. The Cima de los Huesos, or Pit of Bones, is perhaps the most mysterious and intriguing part of the Atapuerca Archaeological Complex. This cave became the site of the discovery of the world's largest mass grave of primitive people, which is approximately 430,000 years old. It was here that the remains of more than 30 individuals belonging to the species Homo heidelbergensis, the alleged common ancestor of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, were found. The cave itself is a deep vertical well, about 13 meters deep, located at the back of a complex karst system. Access to it is extremely limited. Archaeologists have to go down a narrow tunnel and work in conditions of high humidity and darkness. Nevertheless, the finds here turned out to be so unique that Cima de los Huesos is considered a key object in the study of paleoanthropology in Europe. At the bottom of the well, archaeologists found many bones, including almost complete skeletons. This allowed for large-scale reconstructions and research, including craniometric analysis, facial reconstruction, and even ancient DNA extraction. Some individuals died from traumatic brain injuries, others from diseases or natural causes. But the main thing is that they were all intentionally placed in one place. This led scientists to the idea of the existence of a funeral rite, perhaps the first in the history of mankind. The key artifact confirming this hypothesis was the so-called Excalibur, a red quartzite hand axe found among the bones. It is characterized by high-quality processing and an obvious aesthetic design. The stone from which the axe is made is not found in the immediate vicinity, it was probably brought from a distance of more than 30 kilometers. This indicates its symbolic meaning. Excalibur could be a ritual gift placed in a pit as a farewell or respect for the dead. Why is the pit of bones so important? Because it proves that Homo heidelbergensis has a social structure and ritual behavior. This is evidence that 500,000 years ago, people did not just survive, but treated death, community, and the memory of their fellow tribesmen meaningfully. The finds at Cima de los Huesos continue to be studied to this day. Thanks to the extraction of ancient DNA, it was possible to compare these individuals with Neanderthals and identify genetic continuity, which further confirms the importance of the cave as an important link in the human evolutionary chain. With the transition from shovels and brushes to DNA analysis, digital 3D models and high-precision dating, Atapuerca has become not only an archaeological site, but also a center of advanced science. Today, this is not just an excavation. It is a multi-level research complex that unites specialists from all over the world. In 2000, Atapuerca was officially recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its exceptional scientific value. This was the culmination of decades of hard work and recognition of the place as one of the most important centers for the study of human origins in Europe. The National Center for the Study of Human Evolution, CENIA, was opened in the neighboring city of Burgos in 2009. It brings together archaeologists, paleogeneticists, geochemists, anatomists, and virtual reconstruction specialists. There are both laboratory studies and exhibitions that showcase original finds, including Homo antecessor skulls, tools, as well as 3D models and holograms that allow you to revive images of ancient people. Modern methods such as X-ray tomography, spectrometry, and digital scanning make it possible to study even microscopic lesions on bones and stone tools. And paleogenetics, a science that emerged only a couple of decades ago, helps to restore not only the appearance, but also the hereditary ties between ancient populations. Besides the scientific mission, Atapuerca also has a cultural mission. The caves are open to tourists as part of scientific excursions. Specially equipped routes allow you to see the excavation sites, recreated scenes of the life of primitive people, and even visit the exact reconstruction of the site of the paleo community. This place has become a kind of pilgrimage for everyone who is interested in the history of mankind. Atapuerca teaches not only science, but also humility before time. This ridge, which hid almost 1,000,000 years of history, is now available to the world as a reminder of how far we have come and how little we still know about ourselves.